Vlad Guerrero Jr. and the Toronto Blue Jays failed to reach an agreement on a contract extension, which means he's set to hit free agency after 2025. And there's zero reason the Boston Red Sox should not be 100% in on him.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed, and it's free. So you really have nothing to lose because I am here every single day. Welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday. We are getting closer and closer to baseball. The Red Sox do officially start spring training games in a couple days here, which is very exciting to think about. And the roster as it stands right now is pretty exciting. The Red Sox did make some key moves this offseason for players who will hopefully contribute a lot to the team, such as Alex Bregman, Garrett Crochet, and Walker Buehler, the three most notable names that the Red Sox did add, but they also made some moves to improve the bullpen too, and their hope is that their young players continue to develop and show improvement and be heavy contributors to this team as well. So definitely bright future ahead for the Boston Red Sox, and a bright piece of that future that could potentially be part of it is Vlad Guerrero Jr., a big name that's been circling around the baseball community the past couple days. The deadline for him and the Toronto Blue Jays to reach an agreement on a contract extension was Monday night, and they were unable to do that. When asked about if the Blue Jays were even close to the range that he was looking for an extension, he just simply said no. So obviously the two sides were not on the same page, so they could not agree to an extension, which means that after the 2025 season, he is set to hit free agency. And that is great news for the Red Sox and basically every other team in Major League Baseball who could be in need of his skill set, which it's hard to argue that there are not teams that could be in need of his skill set. So the thing with the Blue Jays that people need to keep in mind here is they might not want to try to battle out for him when he hits free agency. They might feel like, okay, if he's not going to come back to our team, we should just try to trade him at the trade deadline or even before it so that we get something back for him and he doesn't just walk for nothing. So if I'm the Red Sox, I'm not necessarily trying to actively pursue a trade for him because I don't want to see the Red Sox give up some massive haul of players to trade for him when he could be available in free agency and they can just try then for him. So the Blue Jays might try to trade him, which is possible, but even if they trade him to another team, he still would likely test out the open market because it would be kind of silly of him to play less than half a season with a new team and then not even give himself the chance to see the kind of money he can make in free agency. So I think it's a foregone conclusion that he'd be hitting the open market regardless. So I don't want to see the Red Sox make a trade for him mid-season, especially if they're playing well and Casas is having a good season. There's no need to really urgently do that. And that brings up Casas here because when you think about where the Red Sox are at now, they've made it very clear that they have a lot of young players who they believe will be superstars for their team. That includes prospects and some of the young guys who are already on the Major League roster that they believe will contribute a lot moving forward. And Triston Casas is one of those players who the Red Sox have had a firm belief in for a long time now, who they feel like is going to be a key cornerstone piece of their organization moving forward. So that's another question that gets posed with this is, how interested will the Red Sox be in Vlad come this upcoming offseason because Triston Casas is in the mix? And Vlad has already said to friends that he would love to play in Boston. So he's already vocalized his preferences in terms of where he sees himself playing. So that would give the Red Sox a bit of a leg up, is the fact that he has already expressed interest in playing here. But the question is, How aggressive will the Red Sox be in terms of getting a deal done? They did offer good money to Juan Soto, which indicates to me that they would be willing to spend money longer term on a player that they feel is worth it. And they would have looked completely foolish not to be in the Soto sweepstakes. How interested they truly were is still up for debate, or if it was just more for show to basically show the fans, look, like we're going to be in on the best guy on the market. So that still remains a question, but the Red Sox do have to think about the fact that other big market teams will also be in the running for Vlad and will be throwing dollar amounts out there that might be more than what the Red Sox offer. I'm looking at teams like the Mets and Yankees, both teams that 100% would be all in on Vlad when he becomes a free agent. And the Red Sox need to understand that. And they need to understand that there are other teams that would be willing to throw their money at a guy like Vlad in free agency. So if the Red Sox are really serious about acquiring a guy like that, they need to be willing to offer him a lot of money. And I still feel like with the Red Sox, it remains to be determined how much money they are willing to offer him, because they still have to see where Casas is at. I truly feel like they want to use this upcoming season to see how Casas performs, because he didn't really get a fair evaluation last year since he was injured for most of the season after coming off of a great rookie season. So the Red Sox definitely want to give him the opportunity to actually play in 2025, give him the opportunity to be healthy for the whole season and really be able to show what he can do when he's out there playing every day. So if Casas goes out there and absolutely balls out and has a great season, I don't know that the Red Sox would be in on Vlad, because they might see Triston Casas as their first baseman of the future. And if that's the case, then the Red Sox probably wouldn't be in the running, because they would say, okay, Casas is our guy. We see him being a cornerstone piece of our team moving forward for years to come. If Casas doesn't have a great season in 2025, that's when they kind of need to make the decision of, okay, are we going to gamble on him bouncing back from that and having a better season in 2026 and having us feel like he's worth it and he's the guy moving forward? Or do we go after a guy who's more of a sure thing that consistently puts up competitive offensive numbers that can come and help put us in a position to win? So it's going to be a tough decision for the Red Sox to make. I do confidently feel like if Triston Casas has a really good season, then they know, okay, we can keep him around and we at least know he'll contribute in a positive way. Or if he has a good season and they still really are adamant about wanting to get Vlad, then if he has a good season in 2025, then it increases his trade value, because they will have to likely trade Casas if they do bring in Vlad, unless they were to make one of them the DH and keep both of them, in which case, then again, they still have to figure out what happens with Yoshida, because I completely thought that Yoshida was a guy they should have traded this offseason. And I have a feeling that they just had trouble finding a trade partner for him because nobody wants to take on his contract. So that's another roadblock in the whole thing, is if you want to keep Casas but also bring in Vlad, then what do you do with Yoshida? Then you're really kind of forced to find a trade partner for him. But I don't know that that's necessarily an option. I do feel like if the Red Sox are going to commit to Vlad, they would try to trade Casas, and then they could obviously, try to package another player in and try to find a package that would work for the other team that allows the Red Sox to maybe get some good pitching in return in that trade. So that could benefit both sides, because the Red Sox could end up with Vlad, but also end up with some strong pitching in return. That is what I most likely could see them opting to do if they were to be able to land Vlad, or feel like they have a solid chance at landing Vlad. Then they might start to explore trade options for Casas. But none of this to me would happen until after the 2025 season, because I really do think they want to do their due diligence with Casas and give him a full season of being healthy to showcase what he can do, because for so long, the Red Sox have felt like he is a cornerstone piece of the organization, somebody who they feel like moving forward in the future is going to be a guy who's going to consistently contribute. Now, when it comes to Vlad, he had a good offensive season in 2024, .323 batting average with 616 at-bats total, 199 hits and 30 home runs. He scored 98 runs, recorded 103 RBIs, and had 2 stolen bases. He had an on-base percentage of .396, slugging percentage of .544, and OPS of .940. So get it out of your head if you think that Vlad is deteriorating. He by no means is. I mean, we're talking about a 4-time All-Star, home run derby champion, gold glover, 2-time silver slugger, and all-star MVP. So, I mean, it's not like this guy doesn't have the accolades. And he put together a season offensively in 2024 that's really respectable. And this is a guy who the Red Sox could really benefit from. So I'm interested in seeing how that plays out for both the Red Sox and for Vlad, because I don't think that he necessarily would want to go back to Toronto, because I feel like he's becoming impatient with them because of the fact that they didn't even come close on a contract extension. So I feel like in his head, Vlad is saying, okay, they're going to disrespect me. Okay, I don't want to play here anymore. So the Blue Jays are going to have to play this very smart. They're going to have to say, okay, if Vlad isn't going to come back to Toronto when he hits free agency, we should consider trading him. But if he does hit the open market, they need to be a lot more aggressive than they were when it came to trying to offer him a contract extension this offseason. So I do think the Red Sox have a good shot. I mean, I really feel like this offseason, they kind of changed their tune a little bit in terms of their spending habits. And they kind of showed us that they are more willing to spend if they feel like a player is worth it. So hopefully that attitude carries over, and that whether they feel like Casas or Vlad is the better option, they pursue that moving forward. But coming up, speaking of Triston Casas, he did speak out about the whole Rafael Devers and Alex Bregman third base situation. So I'm going to be talking about that next. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Wonderful Pistachios are absolutely delicious. I'm kind of addicted to them now, and I keep running out to the store to get them, so I highly recommend them for you too. Also wanted to apologize for my voice. I am a little bit sick right now. Hopefully nothing too major, but it is just a cold, at least from the symptoms that I do have. So slowly recovering there. So I do apologize, but I am here still talking Red Sox baseball. And one thing that's important to talk about is Triston Casas and what he vocalized to the media, because he was recently asked about the situation with Alex Bregman and Rafael Devers in regards to playing third base, because Devers yesterday basically said, I will not be taken off third. I will not DH. I am the third baseman. And he seemed pretty stubborn about moving positions. Casas was asked about that, and he agreed with Devers. He basically said, Devers is our third baseman. He earned that right to have that spot. I would not choose any other third baseman over him. He's the best third baseman in the league. Basically saying, quote for quote, I think it's Rafi Devers' position. He's done it for a really long time now, and I think he's only getting better at that position. He also went on to say, I think Bregman should play second base. I think he's going to make the transition well. I think he's athletic enough. So he's basically defending Devers and is behind him and saying, you know, this has been his position for a while, so why should we punish him because Bregman is here and take him off the position that he has worked so hard to improve on and that he feels is his spot. So Casas kind of taking sides with Devers there. And obviously, if Bregman plays second base, that means that one or two of the Red Sox top prospects won't get an opportunity at the majors yet. And he was asked about that, whether he feels like any of the Red Sox top prospects should make the opening day roster. And he straight up said no. He said, I think we've got some grown men up there right now that need to iron some things out. We need to show up and see what the first little taste of us all together looks like. I think their time is going to come, and it could be earlier rather than later. But I think for right now, the roster is beautiful. So he really likes where the Red Sox are at right now. He really likes the veteran talent that they have in the lineup right now and a group of guys who have major league exposure. And he was basically saying that he feels like this roster hasn't had the chance to play together fully healthy yet, and he wants to see the potential that they can do before calling up some of these prospects and ruling out what this roster as a whole can do. So yes, I do agree with him in a way. I agree with him in regards to the fact that you have a group of guys here who truly has not been able to play together yet, between the fact that Trevor Story hasn't been healthy fully in his time in a Boston Red Sox uniform, how Triston Casas himself missed most of last year with an injury, how a lot of the pitchers have been missing, like Lucas Giolito missing all of last season due to an injury, and also guys like Liam Hendriks, who has been dying to come back, and Garrett Whitlock, who also suffered an injury last year. So you have lots of guys here who Triston Casas feels like he wants to be given an opportunity to play together. Guys who are hungry and want to win, and guys who feel like they have the makeup of the team to be able to do just that. So while I don't have a problem with Triston Casas being honest, I do feel like there are certain things that should and should not be said to the media. I don't disagree with him sticking by his teammate in Devers, because it is kind of a tough look on him if he goes and says, yeah, you should replace him with Bregman. I think that could cause a lot of tension when it comes to Devers in the clubhouse. So I think he made the right call there by defending his teammate. But I don't really like what he said about the prospects, because these guys have worked so hard to get their opportunity on the Red Sox major league roster. And if one of them is ready to go come opening day and is ready to be on the major league roster, if they go into opening day knowing Triston Casas didn't think that they should be there yet, that could cause some tension and also could cause some insecurities with these young guys who are really trying to make their mark in this sport and work their way up to being on the major league team. For example, a guy like Christian Campbell, who has just breezed through the Red Sox system and has gone through all of the levels of the Red Sox organization very quickly. If I'm him and I hear what Triston Casas is saying about me and the other prospects, I'm looking at that whole situation and saying, wow, he doesn't feel confident that I'm ready to be up in the majors yet. And that could be very uncomfortable and discouraging for a player who is just starting out. When guys are just starting out at the major league level, they want to know that their teammates believe in them, and they want to know that there are guys who have their back. And I'm not saying that Casas wouldn't support a guy like Campbell if he gets called up, but I just don't feel like he should have vocalized his opinion on the whole situation to the media. I think that's something that could have been kept internal. And I know I keep going back to Alex Bregman and him being in Boston and why that's so important for this team. It's not even just because of what he can bring on the field, but I also feel like what he can bring off the field in terms of his leadership and experience is also important. And I feel like he can help from a maturity standpoint with some of these younger players when it comes to talking to the media, because some of these guys have shown that they don't really know the do's and don'ts about interacting with the media and what should and shouldn't be said. And I feel like you take Alex Bregman, a guy who's been around the game for a while and has done so many interviews throughout his playing career, he can go in there and he can kind of be a lead by example type of guy who can do an interview with the media, and the younger guys can hopefully model after that and say, hey, Alex Bregman is carrying himself very well in this interview right now. I want that to be me too. I want to be able to speak to the media that confidently and be able to say, hey, I have certain things that I can say that are great about my team, but I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm not trying to show discouragement towards anybody. And I don't necessarily think that was Casas's intention, was to rip these prospects who are going to be coming up. I think it was more his point of their time will come eventually. Give this current roster time to play together first, because we haven't had the chance to do that yet. But that can just be misconstrued in so many different ways by people. And if I'm one of those Red Sox prospects, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, all right, well, what is it going to take then for me to get called up? Because if he wants to just play with this current roster, I'm going to get roadblocked. So I don't think Casas handled that in necessarily the best way, just like I don't necessarily think Devers handled his conversation with the media in the best way either when it came to the third base situation. So I think when you have veterans on the team who are used to talking to the media and have a lot more experience with that, they can kind of show these guys the ropes. When it comes to Casas's thoughts on what he was saying, I definitely feel like the Devers situation can go either way. I could see the Red Sox keeping him at third base and not trying to cause some waves there, and then just putting Bregman at second so that it doesn't upset Devers. But I could also see them saying, hey, look, we don't like Devers defensively at third base, so we're going to pull him off of that position and have him DH more and have Bregman play third so we can give one of our prospects an opportunity and limit Yoshida's playing time a little bit more. I could see that going either way. What do I think they should do? Ultimately, I think they should do what's best for the team. And what's best for the team is tough right now, because you don't want to not play Devers there and have it cause some tension in the clubhouse, which could hurt the overall team performance. But you also don't want to keep him there and jeopardize your defensive performance in the infield. So it's a really hard decision to make. I don't disagree with Casas backing up his teammate, though, and saying, look, like, don't take him off of this position because he's earned it. So I definitely respect that. When it comes to the prospects, I don't necessarily think it's fair to roadblock a prospect from getting called up if they're ready. I do get that this current roster feels like they have a lot to prove together as a healthy team. But if you have a guy like Christian Campbell, who is portraying himself as being more than ready to go come opening day and be on the Red Sox major league roster, why shouldn't the Red Sox give him that opportunity? Why shouldn't they go out there and say, okay, we want to put you on the major league roster to be our everyday second baseman to start the season? I don't necessarily think that it would be fair to not let him do that because you go and say, okay, our current players haven't gotten to play together healthy yet and showcase what they can do. Because again, ultimately it's a business and you have to do what's best for the team. And if what's best for the team is calling up Christian Campbell, you do it. So I know Casas has a firm stance and firm belief on the things he was saying, but ultimately the Red Sox still have to do what's best for the team and the organization. And if that means calling up a prospect who has earned his opportunity to play in a Boston Red Sox uniform come opening day, then I'm not necessarily holding back on that because of what Casas said. And I'm having a constant conversation with Casas about, hey, look, just a reminder, this isn't because we didn't believe in you or any of our guys. We just believed in him also being ready to come up on opening day. So just consistently reminding him of that, of, hey, this isn't anything against anybody we currently have. We just wanted to give him the opportunity. Then I think he would understand more. So we'll have to see what the Red Sox decide to do in terms of the opening day roster. But coming up, they did sign a familiar pitcher for some depth, and I'm going to be talking about that next. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million. No medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. SelectQuote is a great opportunity when it comes to your life insurance, so definitely do not miss out and check that out today. The Boston Red Sox, as they continue to boost their roster heading into 2025, they wanted to look to add some depth, and they did exactly that by signing a familiar pitcher in Adam Ottavino, who ideally will provide some bullpen depth for the squad. It is a minor league contract that includes an invite to spring training. Alex Cora said, "We're still trying to get better. We've been talking about it the last few days. I think the front office, they've done enough. They've been working. The more, the better." In 2021, which was the most recent season that the Red Sox made the playoffs, Ottavino was a core member of that bullpen, appearing in 69 games when the Red Sox came just 2 wins shy of getting to the World Series. And people still don't know how that happened because nobody expected them to even be in the playoffs, no less be 2 wins away from heading to the World Series. But Alex Cora was asked how much Ottavino meant to that baseball team, and he said a lot. Not only on the field, but if you talk to Garrett Whitlock and Tanner Houck and all those guys, they learned a lot from him. I think he took the ball. He's not afraid of the moment. He's a guy with good stuff. Ottavino departed as a free agent following that season and spent the past 3 years with the Mets, appearing in 192 games and posting a 3.14 ERA. However, the 39-year-old did have his share of struggles this past season, posting an ERA of 4.34. So that's something we definitely need to be cognizant of here when it comes to him and his ability to really contribute effectively at the major league level. He had one major league offer and a plethora of invites to other camps, but he chose the Red Sox due to opportunity and familiarity. He said, "I had talked to Boston for quite a while this offseason, so it was a long process. And once I was open to the NRI situation, I got a lot of offers really fast after that. So I was parsing through that, trying to figure out what move to make. I had one MLB offer, but I didn't want to take it in that location. So I just kept doing my research and talking to the teams and then made this decision last night." What appealed to him about the Red Sox in particular, he said, "It helps that I've been here before and I know Cora and I know the trainers and a lot of people in the organization. So if I'm in a situation to make a club, I'll be given a little more grace initially since I've been inside the past few months. And also the upside of the team, it's really good. I like the moves. It's a place I love playing. It was kind of a no-brainer once I felt like I had a decent shot to make the team." He also went on to say he's really looking forward to the chance to rebound from last season. He said, "I was just trying to figure out ways to get better, and some of them backfired. I tried to lean on my cutter a little bit early in the season more than I had. I had a really great April with a .93 ERA and 9 outings. And then I had really my worst month ever in May, which was a 9.28 in 12. And I really hadn't changed my strategy. So it took me a little while to realize what the right changes to make were. And I felt like I made them as the season went on. And I just kind of ran out of time to get back into the groove." Yeah, that month of May really deterred his ERA. Generally, he was not that bad, but that month was too bad to the point where he couldn't recover. But it sounds like he's ready to go out there and revamp himself in 2025 and have a bounce back season, which I absolutely love. Because the Red Sox haven't named a closer yet, the core members right now for the late innings project to be Liam Hendricks, Aroldis Chapman, and Justin Slayton generally. I still think they should consider Garrett Whitlock in that mix once they make sure that he can stay healthy. I would not be surprised if Ottavino emerges as a top candidate, secure one of the final couple of spots to pitch in high leverage situations in the later innings. One thing that might look different about Ottavino this season is the back of his jersey. Since 2013, he has worn the number 0, but the Red Sox recently gave that one to free agent acquisition Walker Buehler. And Ottavino was completely fine with that. He said, it's his number. It's all good. Ottavino had 0-0 on the sleeve of the Red Sox warm-up shirt he wore on Tuesday. He said, for the time being, I figured I'd give people what they want. So he's obviously in good spirits about it, and it's really not a big deal to him. So expect a different number from him going into this upcoming season. But for right now, it's a minor league contract. So it's primarily a depth move to where it could really work out for the Red Sox. If he's pitching well in the minors, they could call him up. Or if he pitches well out of the gate in spring training, then they could call him up and say, okay, you're going to start the season on the major league roster. I would not be surprised if the Red Sox do that. So it sounds like they are definitely open to something like that. And they brought him on to just see what he can do. Yes, he's on the older side, so that's certainly a concern. And also the inconsistency that he has portrayed. But he pitched pretty well when he was in Boston. Definitely had his inconsistencies, but overall felt confident in the way that he was throwing when he was here. And like he specifically mentioned, that familiarity with the organization is huge for a player. And a lot of times guys like to go somewhere where they feel like they're welcomed and they know a lot of people within the organization and they feel like they can succeed there again because they're not going to a new place where they have to adapt because they haven't pitched there before. So I'm happy that he mentioned all of those things about Boston and how he had these other offers, but he chose to come back to the Red Sox. And from the Red Sox standpoint, you're looking at a guy who's a veteran with experience pitching in Boston. So when we are trying to fill out the bullpen, he could be a secretly good weapon, a guy who comes and gets added to the major league roster and produces at a high level for a year with the Red Sox. So we'll have to see how it goes. But for right now, it is truly just a depth move. So I'd be curious to see how much of an opportunity he gets, which definitely could be controlled based on how he performs in spring training. I appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Red Sox with Sick Gabby and making it your first listen today. Definitely be sure to next tune in to Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, who will keep you up to date on all things going on around the league. So if you want to know what's going on with other baseball teams, check out his show next on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.